Lilu, I just saw It Lives Inside, and that used practical effects for the monster. Unlike you, you're just pure CGI and drug-induced hallucination. All right, Lilu, it's that time again. Buckle up. Let's talk It Lives Inside. Coming into It Lives Inside, I had no idea what to expect because I hadn't seen any marketing or trailers for the film beforehand.
Goodbye, dear. See you later. Lilu is not too happy with you.
It's refreshing to experience something with no expectations. Directed by first-time director Bishal Dutta. Hope I'm saying his name right. The film follows Samida, a young woman who's thrust into a world of horror when her former best friend, who has been acting strangely and clutching a glass mason jar, confides in her about an evil entity that is inside the jar. Which is why I'm only eating jelly out of a plastic bag from now on. No more mason jars for me. Not believing her old friend, Samida shatters the jar on the ground, unwittingly releasing whatever malevolent force lurks from within. This monster has roots in Indian culture and seeks to take the souls from its victim, killing anyone that will get in the way of achieving this goal. Unfortunately, It Lives Inside doesn't venture far from the typical horror tropes we've seen countless times before, as it shares DNA with films like Boogeyman or Lights Out. Many of these scares rely on jump scare tactics, and some story elements and dialogue are painfully predictable and average. There's one scene involving her teacher that had me almost yelling at the screen due to the character's unnecessarily drawn-out sequence of bad decisions. A common plot-driving trope that's just annoying, especially when the scene was already quite thrilling without all of this. It is a shame that this film is plagued by these problems because it has some intriguing elements that could have elevated it to another level. Despite sticking to some well-worn horror tropes, It Lives Inside manages to deliver several effective scares, featuring a practical effects monster that looks quite good. The beast mostly stays in the shadows, with glowing eyes and a faint silhouette. These elements, combined with eerie sounds, create a sense of anticipation and dread. The eventual monster reveal later in the film also doesn't disappoint. Unlike the horrible CGI Lilu, nobody believes you're real for a second, Lilu. The direction of the horror sequences is skillful, keeping you on the edge of your seat and building tension effectively. However, it's the dialogue and storytelling leading up to these moments that often fall short, settling for generic horror setups and lackluster dialogue. The cast does a commendable job, making the most of what they're given. Megan Suri leads the cast and infuses her character with depth, particularly in her internal struggle to downplay her cultural heritage. This very dilemma provides the film with its unique identity and feel, but discussing it in depth would involve spoilers, so I'll save that after my score. In the end, It Lives Inside is a satisfying and enjoyable horror film, but it's held back by the typical horror tropes. As a result, this film gets a yellow light. Of caution, it has noticeable flaws, but is overall still enjoyable. Now let's delve in to spoiler territory and one of the reasons I appreciated this film so much, and that is the metaphors. This story explores the experiences of the lead character, an Indian American, growing up trying to distance herself from her culture to fit in with the cool white kids. She endures things like her white friend films her as she says their names in Hindi, fulfilling their tricks, even though she is trying to distance herself from being seen as the Indian girl in school, even going by the more American name, Sam. This drives her to reject her family's traditions and customs in favor of what seems like normal white America. She even rejects her former best friend because she doesn't want to be seen as just another Indian girl. Now, here's where the metaphor comes into play. The monster in the glass jar represents her culture, imprisoned and segregated by her friend. You can't confine a part of yourself in a jar. Doing so makes you a shadow of yourself, and you end up not fitting in either world. Her friend, with her ragged appearance, hasn't assimilated with the in crowd, and she is also no longer participating with the Indian culture events. She doesn't belong anywhere and being torn apart in the process. Sam's boyfriend represents the forces that are pulling her further from her culture and the inner struggle she has from within. She sees little things in her being lost by being with him and has to let him die, so to speak. The teacher, also being a minority, encourages Sam to reach out to her old friend and the importance of looking out for each other. The demon of cultural assimilation obviously sees her as a threat and would want to silence this teacher ally of hers. In the final confrontation with her own demons, Sam asks her mother for help and learns to speak her family's tradition to hurt the monster. It takes the strength of more than one person in order to fight this beast and keep it at bay. Sam realizes the only way to stop the demon is by consuming it, allowing it to live inside of her. All of us have our own demons. Essentially, she's accepting her culture and nourishing it with her family's traditions and heritage to ensure it never dies. So she's feeding her demon. The real horror would be if the monster overwhelms her and devouring her rich cultural heritage. The film serves as a commentary on the dangers of immigrants losing their traditions through assimilation, and the director uses the demon as a way to manifest these fears cinematically. Samida defeats the monster by using her people's traditions and religion, underscoring the importance of passing down, cherishing old customs and teachings. This deeper meaning to the film adds a compelling and rich layer to the film, and it's a shame it wasn't enough to offer an unqualified recommendation due to its other faults. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown. Let me know if you have other ideas of what all of this could mean. Lilu, we have our own traditions, especially when doing movie reviews. Normally, we would be driving off a cliff. Huh? I'm a sucker for traditions. Holy shit! Wait a minute. You are real. Sorry about that.